أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان. الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو العصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار وخلق الجان من مارج من نار فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنام سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أزكى السلام. أما بعد، معالي الدكتور خميس بن سيف الجابري الموقر، رئيس وحدة متابعة تنفيذ رؤية عمان 2040 راعي الحفل، أصحاب السعادة، المشاركين الأعزاء، أيها الحضور الكريم، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. يسعدني أن أرحب بكم جميعا في المؤتمر الإقليمي الخامس للشبكة العربية لضمان الجودة في التعليم العالي، بعنوان استشراف مستقبل جودة التعليم، أثر التقنيات الذكية والبعد الدولي على منظومة جودة التعليم، والذي تستضيفه الهيئة العمانية للاعتماد الأكاديمي وضمان جودة التعليم بالتعاون مع الشبكة العربية لضمان الجودة في التعليم العالي، والذي يقام هنا في سلطنة عمان في 5 إلى 7 ديسمبر 2023. وسيضم المؤتمر مجموعة من المتحدثين الدوليين والإقليميين من ذوي الخبرة في مجال ضمان جودة التعليم العالي، ومجموعة متميزة من الخبراء والمتخصصين في مجال التعليم والتكنولوجيا من جميع أنحاء العالم. كما سوف يشتمل المؤتمر على جلسات نقاشية وورش عمل تفاعلية تسمح للمشاركين بتبادل الخبرات والأفكار والتجارب الناجحة فيما يتعلق بتكامل التقنيات الذكية في مجال التعليم وتأثيرها على ضمان جودة التعليم. إن الهيئة العمانية للاعتماد الأكاديمي وضمان جودة التعليم المنظمة لهذا المؤتمر العربي الهام تكمن رسالتها في توجيه قطاع التعليم في سلطنة عمان ودعمه لتحقيق الأولويات والأهداف الوطنية ذات الصلة مع الاستمرار في الاستيفاء للمعايير المستندة للقياس المرجعي الدولي. وجاء تنظيمها لهذا المؤتمر بهدف استكشاف ومناقشة الدور المتزايد للتقنيات الذكية في تحسين جودة التعليم على المستوى العالمي، بالإضافة إلى التحديات والفرص التي يمكن أن تواجهها المنظومة التعليمية لضمان جودة التعليم في ظل التطورات المتسارعة في المجال التكنولوجي. أيها الحفل الكريم، نقف الآن مع كلمة سعادة الدكتورة جوخة بنت عبد الله شكيلية، الرئيسة التنفيذية للهيئة العمانية للاعتماد الأكاديمي وضمان جودة التعليم، فلتتفضل مشكورة.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي علم بالقلم، علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم، وجعل العلم نوراً للمهتدين، والعلماء ورثة الأنبياء والمرسلين، وهدى الأمة بمعلم البشرية أجمعين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. معالي الدكتور خميس بن سيف الجابري الموقر، رئيس وحدة متابعة تنفيذ رؤية عمان 2040 راعي حفلنا الكريم، الأستاذة الدكتورة نادية بدراوي، رئيسة الشبكة العربية لضمان الجودة في التعليم العالي، المكرمون، أصحاب السعادة، الرؤساء التنفيذيون ومسؤولي هيئات ضمان جودة التعليم في الوطن العربي، الضيوف الكرام، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إنه لمن دواعي سرورنا أن نرحب بكم جميعاً في المؤتمر الإقليمي الخامس لضمان الجودة في التعليم، والذي تتشرف الهيئة العمانية للاعتماد الأكاديمي وضمان جودة التعليم باستضافة دورته الحالية في بلدكم الثاني سلطنة عمان، وفي قلب عاصمتها العامرة مسقط، فحللتم أهلاً ووطئتم سهلاً. لقد حرصت الهيئة وبالتعاون مع مجلس إدارة الشبكة العربية لضمان الجودة في التعليم العالي في اختيار عنوان هذا المؤتمر بعناية وبما يتناسب مع المتغيرات المتتابعة والقضايا المستجدة التي تشهدها المنظومة التعليمية إقليمياً ودولياً. ولعل الموضوع الأكثر إلحاحاً والذي فرض نفسه في محاور هذا المؤتمر هو التطور الهائل والمتسارع في عالم التقنية وخصوصاً التقنيات الذكية، والتي أتاحت أنماطاً جديدة للتعلم ينبغي دراسة أثرها والتعرف على التحديات التي تفرضها على مخرجاتنا التعليمية وجودة مناهجنا وجودة المنظومة التعليمية برمتها. وإدراكاً من الشبكة لأهمية البعد الدولي والمبادرات المرتبطة بتدويل التعليم والحراك الأكاديمي وتنقل الطلبة بين الأنظمة التعليمية المختلفة، وأهمية تكامل الجهود الوطنية مع المبادرات والقرارات الدولية التي تمس قضايا التعليم، فقد انفرد المؤتمر في أحد محاوره الرئيسية بالبعد الدولي وتأثيره على جودة التعليم. أصحاب المعالي، أصحاب السعادة المكرمون، حضورنا الكريم، لا شك بأن مستقبل التعليم في دولنا سيشهد خلال المرحلة المقبلة تحولات كبيرة وانفتاحاً غير مسبوق للتقنيات الذكية بمختلف أنواعها. ففي الوقت الذي بدأنا في الانفتاح على مرحلة التعلم الإلكتروني والتعلم عن بعد، وبدأنا في وضع السياسات الداعمة لتجويده، نتفاجأ بتزاحم التقنيات والمنصات التعليمية التي يساندها الذكاء الاصطناعي والواقع الافتراضي والواقع المعزز، والتي تفرض علينا اتخاذ الكثير من القرارات السريعة حول ما يمكن قبوله وما يمكن رفضه وما يمكن تطويعه لخدمة العملية التعليمية. ففي الوقت الذي توفر فيه التقنيات الحديثة فرصاً هائلة للتجديد والابتكار وتعزيز تفاعل ومشاركة الطلبة بكل يسر، متخطية حدود المكان والزمان، إلا إنها تضع صناع السياسات التعليمية والأكاديميين والباحثين ومسؤولي ضمان الجودة أمام مسؤولية كبيرة للتوازن بين الاستخدام الحكيم والفعال لهذه التقنيات وبين الحذر من تأثيراتها وانعكاساتها على جودة ما يقدم لأبنائنا الطلبة وقدرتهم على التعلم وتطوير مهاراتهم وتحقيق النزاهة الأكاديمية المنشودة عند تقييم أدائهم. ختاماً، لا يسعني إلا أن نتوجه بالشكر الجزيل لمعالي الدكتور خميس بن يوسف الجابري رئيس وحدة متابعة تنفيذ رؤية عمان 2040 على رعايته الكريمة لهذا المؤتمر. كما أتوجه بالشكر الجزيل إلى مجلس إدارة الشبكة ممثلاً برئيسته الأستاذة الدكتورة نادية بدراوي والأمين العام للشبكة دكتور طارق السندي على ثقتهم المقدرة لاستضافة الهيئة لهذا المؤتمر. والشكر موصول لجميع المتحدثين الرئيسيين ولمقدمي أوراق العمل والورش على مشاركتنا خبراتهم وتجاربهم الثرية في مختلف القضايا المرتبطة بمحاور المؤتمر، ولجميع المشاركين والمنظمين ولكل من أسهم في نجاح أعمال هذا المؤتمر، متمنين أن يحقق هذا المؤتمر مبتغاه وأن يساهم الخبراء الدوليين والإقليميين والأكاديميين المشاركين فيه في إثراء جلساته ونقاشاته والمساهمة في تشخيص المشهد التعليمي وتقريب وجهات النظر حول الفرص والتحديات التي يجب الالتفات إليها عند توطين التقنيات الذكية في أنظمتنا التعليمية بما يسهم في تجويد القطاع. أرحب بكم جميعاً مرة أخرى في هذا الحدث الاستثنائي، متمنية لجميع الأشقاء من الوطن العربي ولضيوف المؤتمر طيب الإقامة في سلطنة عمان واستثمار فرصة حضورهم للسلطنة في التعرف على ما حباه الله من تاريخ تليد وتراث متنوع وطبيعة آسرة. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
لأن تطور المجتمعات ورقيها لا يتأتى إلا بالعلم، ولأن جودة التعليم هي أساس تقدم المجتمعات واستدامتها، وجدت الهيئة العمانية للاعتماد الأكاديمي وضمان جودة التعليم لتحقق مساعي الحكومة الرشيدة في تطوير التعليم في السلطنة. في عام 2001 كانت بدايات التأسيس، ثم انطلقنا بخطى حثيثة في عام 2010 كهيئة مستقلة لضمان جودة التعليم العالي، وسعياً منا لتحقيق رؤية عمان 2040 للارتقاء بالتعليم وضمان جودته في كافة القطاعات التعليمية المدنية والمهنية والعسكرية. سخرنا الجهود لرفع جودة المؤسسات التعليمية والبرامج الأكاديمية والمؤهلات. أخذنا على عاتقنا تدقيق جودة المؤسسات وتقويمها وتقويم برامجها، وأسسنا الإطار الوطني للمؤهلات لإدراج المؤهلات العمانية فيه وموائمة المؤهلات الأجنبية معه، كما وضعنا الأسس للنظام الوطني لضمان جودة التعليم المدرسي، ودعمنا توظيف التكنولوجيا في تحسين جودة التعليم وتقديم تجارب تعليمية مبتكرة، مواكبين بذلك عصر الرقمنة بمختلف توجهاته. خطوات مهمة ومتقدمة توالت بمشاركة فاعلة من الجمهور بمختلف شرائحه لإشراك قطاع التعليم والوزارات والجهات المشرفة عليه. أحدثنا أثراً ملموساً في مسيرة التعليم، وساهمنا في تكوين كفاءات عززت من مكانة سلطنة عمان محلياً ودولياً. مسيرة حافلة بالتحديات توجت بمخرجات ساهمت ولا تزال تساهم في بناء مجتمع مبدع ومدرك لمسؤولياته. التعليم المواكب للمتغيرات هو بوابتنا نحو مستقبل مشرق، فلنستثمر جميعاً في جودته. الهيئة العمانية للاعتماد الأكاديمي وضمان جودة التعليم.
حفلنا الكريم، إن الشبكة العربية لضمان الجودة في التعليم العالي منظمة غير حكومية وغير ربحية تم إنشاؤها في يونيو 2007 لضمان الجودة في التعليم العالي، وتهدف إلى توفير الخبرات والاستشارات الهادفة إلى دعم الممارسات والتطبيقات الجيدة في مجال تطوير التعليم العالي، وتوفير الخبرات والاستشارات ووضع المعايير اللازمة لإنشاء المؤسسات الجديدة لضمان جودة التعليم العالي في المنطقة العربية، وتيسير التواصل بين مؤسسات ضمان جودة التعليم العالي العربية، وتوفير قاعدة بيانات ومعلومات عن معايير الجودة والممارسات الجيدة وخبراء تقييم الجودة لمؤسسات ضمان الجودة في التعليم العالي. حضورنا الأعزاء، نقف الآن مع كلمة الأستاذة الدكتورة نادية بدراوي رئيسة الشبكة العربية لضمان الجودة في التعليم العالي، فلتتفضل مشكورة. كما نحيطكم علما بأنه تتوفر خدمة الترجمة الفورية في الجهة الخلفية من القاعة. شكرا لكم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. معالي الدكتور خميس سيف الجبري، رئيس وحدة متابعة تنفيذ رؤية عمان 2040 راعي المناسبة، أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، أصحاب مجلس إدارة الشبكة العربية لضمان جودة التعليم العالي، السادة الحضور، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يطيب لي أن أرحب بكم جميعاً في لقائنا الخامس الذي يجتمع فيه المتخصصين والخبراء والأكاديميين في الوطن العربي وخارجه تحت مظلة الشبكة العربية لضمان جودة التعليم العالي، والذي تستضيفه هذه السنة سلطنة عمان تحت عنوان استشراف مستقبل جودة التعليم العالي، أثر التقنيات الذكية والبعد الدولي على منظومة جودة التعليم. الموضوع الذي تم اختياره بعناية ليواكب التطورات السريعة في التقنيات ومدى تكاملها مع منظومة الجودة في التعليم العالي. نحن هنا اليوم نوفر منصة حية لتبادل الأفكار والخبرات لتعزيز مستوى التعليم وتحسين جودته في الوطن العربي باستخدام أحدث التقنيات. لقد أصبح التقنيات والذكاء الاصطناعي دوراً هاماً وحاسماً في تحسين جودة التعليم وتعزيز عملية التعلم، كما أن لها دور فاعل في توفير فرص التعلم المتساوية والمتكافئة لكافة المتعلمين والوصول إلى المعرفة والمعلومات بشكل أوسع وأسرع وأكثر شمولية. كما تساهم التقنية أيضاً في تعزيز التفاعل والمشاركة النشطة للطلبة في العملية التعليمية وتعزيز قدرات المعلمين في تقديم محتوى علمي مبتكر وشيق. ومع ذلك يبقى هاجس ضمان الجودة ورصانة ما نقدمه لأبنائنا الطلبة في ظل تطور التقنيات المتسارع أمراً ينبغي النظر إليه بعناية شديدة والعمل عليه لتذليل الصعوبات التي تؤثر على مواكبتنا لهذه التقنيات. بما يسهم في تحقيق الهدف السامي الذي تسعى الشبكة العربية لضمان جودة التعليم العالي لتحقيقه، وهو تعزيز مستوى التعليم في الوطن العربي وصولاً بمخرجاته إلى أعلى المستويات العالمية بل ونتنافس عليها. لقد أصبحت التقنية واقع يجب التعايش معه في جميع القطاعات، وقطاع التعليم ليس استثناء من ذلك، بل هو الأساس الذي يبني المجتمعات المتحضرة ويساهم في نمو مختلف قطاعاتها. لذا لابد من مواكبة التطورات الكبيرة التي يشهدها قطاع التقنية أو التكنولوجيا والذكاء الاصطناعي، وتعظيم الفائدة منهم بما يسهم في تجويد العملية التعليمية وأيضاً تجويد عملية ضمان الجودة والاعتماد. وفي نفس الوقت يحافظ على هويتنا العربية والإسلامية وقيم المواطنة الأصيلة التي ترسخها المنظومة التعليمية. حضورنا الكريم، يعد هذا المؤتمر فرصة ثمينة لتبادل الخبرات والأفكار ووجهات النظر والمناقشات والتخطيط الفعال لمستقبل ضمان الجودة في التعليم، بالاطلاع على الممارسات الناجحة في المجال في ظل استخدام التقنيات الحديثة والذكاء الاصطناعي. سوف نستمع اليوم إلى خبراء متميزين في هذا المجال، ونشارك التحديات والتجارب والحلول المبتكرة ليصبح ضمان جودة التعليم حجر الأساس للعملية التعليمية، ولنعزز من دور الجهات المشرفة على ضمان جودة التعليم ومن تواجدها في البلاد العربية جميعاً. تمنياتي للجميع الاستفادة من تواجدهم ومشاركتهم في هذا التجمع العلمي الرائع بين كوكبة من الخبرات الدولية والإقليمية في مجال ضمان جودة التعليم العالي، ملتحماً بأفضل الممارسات التقنية والذكاء الاصطناعي في مجال التعلم، وأن نستفيد كلنا من هذه الفرصة للارتقاء بجودة التعليم وتحقيق التطوير المستدام لمجتمعنا. وفي الختام، يسرني باسم مجلس إدارة الشبكة العربية لضمان جودة التعليم أن أتوجه بعميق الشكر والتقدير إلى راعي المناسبة معالي الدكتور خميس بن سيف الجبري، رئيس وحدة متابعة تنفيذ رؤية 2040، على تفضله برعاية المؤتمر الخامس للشبكة. والشكر موصول للهيئة العمانية للاعتماد وضمان جودة التعليم على استضافتها الكريمة لهذا المؤتمر بالتعاون مع الشبكة العربية، والتي تزامنت حقيقة في زيارتي الأولى لسلطنة عمان، هذا البلد التاريخي الأصيل المتميز بعراقته وأصالة شعبه وقيادته. أود أن أعبر عن امتناني العميق وشكري الجزيل للزميلة العزيزة دكتورة جوخة بنت عبد الله تشيكييلا، الرئيس التنفيذي للهيئة العمانية للاعتماد الأكاديمي وضمان جودة التعليم، وفريقها المتميز، وبحط 3 خطوط تحت المتميز، على الجهود الجبارة التي بذلوها جميعاً في التخطيط الدقيق لهذا المؤتمر مع الشبكة العربية لضمان جودة التعليم. لقد أبدعتم دكتورة جوخة في هذا، وفي تنظيم جميع جوانب المؤتمر من ورش عمل إلى مؤتمر تاني بسلاسة واتقان وحرفية شديدة، ولا يفوتني طبعا أن أشكر زميلي العزيز دكتور طارق السندي الأمين العام للشبكة العربية على الجهد والوقت الذي بذله بالتعاون مع الدكتورة جوخة وفريقها لإنجاح هذا المؤتمر. كما أتوجه بالشكر الجزيل للسادة الحضور ومقدمي الأوراق العمل وجميع المراجعين للأوراق العمل وكل من يشاركنا في هذا الحدث المهم. وأخيرا شكرا غزيرا لكل الحضور الكريم وكل من يشاركنا هذا الحدث، وشكرا.
لأن التعليم العالي أساس إعداد الكوادر المؤهلة من كافة أقطار الوطن العربي، جاء تأسيس الشبكة العربية لضمان الجودة في التعليم العالي، وهي مؤسسة غير حكومية وغير ربحية انطلقت في عام 2007 لتحقيق العديد من الأهداف، أهمها تيسير التواصل بين مؤسسات ضمان جودة التعليم العالي العربي، توفير قاعدة بيانات ومعلومات عن معايير الجودة والممارسات الجيدة وعن خبراء تقييم الجودة لمؤسسات ضمان الجودة في التعليم العالي، توفير المعلومات اللازمة للمؤسسات عن أطر المؤهلات الوطنية في الدول العربية، تيسير إجراء البحوث في مجال جودة التعليم العالي، تعزيز التعاون مع الشبكات والمنظمات الإقليمية والدولية ذات العلاقة، وتمثيل المنطقة العربية ودعم اهتماماتها. وتستضيف الدول الأعضاء مؤتمر الشبكة العربية لضمان الجودة في التعليم العالي كل عامين تقريباً، وهذا العام تستضيف سلطنة عمان المؤتمر الخامس تحت عنوان استشراف مستقبل جودة التعليم العالي، أثر التقنيات الذكية والبعد الدولي على منظومة جودة التعليم، لمواكبة التطورات التقنية والذكية في تحقيق مساعي جودة التعليم العالي. الشبكة العربية لضمان الجودة في التعليم العالي نحو تعليم ذي جودة عالية في العالم العربي.
حضورنا الأعزاء، نستهل المؤتمر الإقليمي الخامس للشبكة العربية لضمان الجودة في التعليم العالي بالجلسة الأولى، البعد الدولي لضمان الجودة والاعتماد في التعليم العالي. وأبتدئ مع المتحدث الرسمي الأول الأستاذة الدكتورة سينثيا هاموند، رئيسة مجلس الاعتماد الأكاديمي للتعليم العالي.
Our first keynote speaker in the is Dr. Cynthia Hamoud. She is the president of the American Accreditation Council of Higher Education. Dr. Cynthia actually is also the president of State University, was the president of Central State University in Ohio in June 2020. And as a president, she led effort to develop 6 compelling priorities which have since guided the university. During the tenure at the Central State University, she successfully navigated the university to land the grant status, led the institution to 10 years of higher learning commission. Dr. Jackson Hammond has a very high experience in higher education for more than 30 years. She recently served on the board of the Thurgood Marshall College Foundation, the 1890 Land Grant Council of President and the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference Executive Committee. So actually I would like to present Dr. Sensitia as a colleague in the Shia International Quality Group since a long time, and as a friend. Can you start, Dr. Sensitia?
Absolutely. May I go over to
Yes, please.
Thank you. Good morning. This is usually the time that you say good morning. Thank you, President Broadway and the Arab Network for Quality Assurance in Higher Education for your very kind invitation to speak with all of you today. I also want to thank the Oman Authority for Academic Accreditation and Quality Assurance. Your Excellency, your Public Relations Division and Logistics Office were absolutely perfect. Excellency Abdullah El Shakali, the coordination of your office with my travel has been superb. So, last night, Your Excellency said to me, Cynthia, don't be too technical. Enjoy yourself, and you can be funny. Your Excellency, I have not been funny since 1979. And ironically, that was the same time my work with quality assurance began. So I'm wondering if there's a correlation there. I must admit that I knew very little about Muscat Sultanate of Oman before my visit. But I took the opportunity to Google everything I could about this beautiful hidden space on the globe. I was fascinated by the people and the culture, and I look forward to visiting all of the cultural museums and marketplaces and absorbing all of the beautiful sights while I'm here. I also intend, okay, thank you. You can stay here if you want, because I tend to move this. I also intend to leave a lot of American dollars here. The shopping is amazing. The most impressive thing before I began my delivery is to let you know how hospitable the people of Oman are. I've traveled quite a bit, but have never found anyone or any place as comforting and as accommodating for my husband and for me since I've been here. I've also purchased enough frankincense for everybody in Washington, D.C. This morning, my thoughts are presented from the perspectives of the Council for Higher Education Accreditation. The abbreviated version of the organization is CHEA, C-H-E-A. CHEA is the only non-governmental organization that provides recognition for accrediting organizations. We accredit over 75 accrediting organizations, both at the program and at the institutional levels. Our platform also includes over 80 international organizations and members known as CIQG, which is CHIA, International Quality Group, in which Professor Nadia is a member. I also saw another member, Jamil Samil, who is also a member of CIQG. Might I add that Professor Nadia has added immense and profound contributions to the critical thinking and understandings around quality assurances on a global level. We at CHIA CIQG are really enriched by her contributions and overall engagements. And Kwahe is very well represented. And CIQG is our formal step to understanding and integrating internationalism within CHIA. Let me preface my remarks by first saying that my presentation today is not meant at all to be didactic. It is meant to be a conversation starter by which we learn more from each other regarding matters of international merit, of quality assurance. Much of my comments focus on students' success, standards, and how those standards can serve as the foundational platform for international quality assurance. Today, I share with you thoughts about internationalization and quality assurance in higher ed. Perhaps this presentation will raise more questions that will engender more conversations. We all in this room know that internationalization of quality assurance is a process. It's not a product, it is a process aimed at ensuring that educational institutions and programs around the world meet certain established standards of quality. Internationalization of quality assurance through accreditation involves a range of activities and initiatives designed to enhance the quality on a global scale, promote mobility of students and professionals, and create a more interconnected and standardized higher education landscape. Of course, much has to be determined regarding standards that have international applicability. As you are aware, accreditation standards are criteria and guidelines set by accrediting bodies to assess the quality and effectiveness of institutions, programs, or services in many fields such as business, medicine, healthcare, education. These standards help to ensure that organizations meet certain benchmarks and provide a level of quality and consistency. While specific standards vary depending on the accrediting body and the type of institution or program being evaluated, there are some common principles and elements often found in accreditation across the global scale. Those common standards should represent commonalities of internationalization. Just to level the context of my remarks, let's think about what those commonalities are. We all should have within our quality assurance processes a mission and purpose. We all should have a level of integrity within the governance of accreditation and administration. There should also be a curriculum of services, support services for students. Our faculty and staff within our institutions should be qualified to the highest level and should be required to improve those qualifications year to year. We also advocate for student learning and support services. And of course, resources and facilities for students must be adequate. That includes financial abilities, library resources, physical accommodations, and technology innovations. All of this should be available to our institutions. And assessment. How do we know that we are doing the right thing for our institutions and our students? Ethical and legal compliance. There must be a level of ethics in what we do and why we do it. Stakeholder engagement. The world of accreditation, the world of quality assurance goes beyond the academy. Who is involved with what we do for quality assurance across the globe? There must be a level of engagement and public disclosure and transparency. How do we report our successes and even those things that have not been successful? It is only through that transparency can we improve. And of course, research and scholarship must be a part of our quality assurance processes. So standards are things that are benchmarks that we all engage in. And it is important to note that these principles can be adapted and applied differently depending on the accrediting body and the nature of the institution and the program seeking accreditation. Various accrediting bodies exist globally. Each of us and our own set of standards tailored our commonalities to the specific context and requirements of the institution that we accredit. Standards on a global level will require agreement between international agencies that are aligned with the principles that were just mentioned. What informs these agreements will vary from region to region, country to country. So standards sort of suggest setting the bar of operations and outcomes. But there are some additional questions, Nadia. Whose standards should be at the forefront? And is there a consensus of standards that are consistent with the values, the beliefs, and the outcomes of the international community? So although we have various standards, we must have some commonalities in what we're doing and saying. And of course, this process for many of the very younger academicians here, the process just didn't start recently. It started with the Bologna Declaration in 1999. And that was designed to encourage European countries in quality assurance of higher education to view the comparative standards and the criteria and the methodologies. Then the European Ministers of Education adopted similar standards and guidelines in 2005. We also had the European Association for Quality Assurance in Higher Education, INQA, who is also part of the cooperation and consultation with the member agencies of the E4 group. This was adopted in 2015. CIQG established 7 international principles and guidelines that are compliant, or comparable to the work that was done ahead. These principles are consistent with existing international standards and the UNESCO OECD guidelines for quality provisions in the cross-border higher education, and QUAHI guidelines, CHIBA guidelines and principles, APQN, the revised European standards and guidelines for quality assurance all came together to talk about our commonalities. What is evident is that there has been a great deal of progress in trying to internationalize quality assurance. These are some earlier discussions around standards and transferability for students and faculty. The internationalization of higher education has gained prominence due to increased globalization and cross-border collaboration. But after you go to that level, there is the next level. What are the best practices internationally? So there are more questions. If quality is to be determined on an international scale and identified by consensus, the goals and expected outcomes in higher education that will lead to student success must also be agreed upon, which also begs the question, what is student success? How do you define it? How do you define student success on a global level? Question number 2, how should goals and outcomes to achieve student success be measured and analyzed? Are these measurements and analysis influenced by cultural and political contexts and expectations? Yes, they are. Question number 3, how do we as an international community report on collected goals and measurements? What's important to us on a global level? We know what's important to us in the United States, but I want to know what's important to you, our international community. And number 4, how do we use these reports to work toward continuous improvement? In quality assurance, there is no level. We keep trying and trying to be better at what we do. So, if quality assurance in higher education on a global level requires processes and mechanisms used to assess and improve the quality of education, it must involve, number 1, setting standards, conducting evaluations, and ensuring that institutions across the globe meet certain criteria. Thirdly, there must be mutual recognition agreements. We must agree. We must agree. There is no one better than the other. We are all here for the same purposes, facilitating student success. And I talk a lot about student success because when you think about the work that you do and the work that we do in the States, what is the end goal? The end goal is to make sure that institutions are viable and that they are attending to the academic and personal development of the students. So there must be mutual agreement. And this is a real critical one. Respect for challenges and the variability of quality assurance agencies. There are some regulatory structures in place in all of our countries. And we must be aware that this can be challenging, but not to the point that it cannot be solvable. There must be a respect for each other. And 5th, student success. There is not an institution on the globe that does not want the ultimate outcome to be the success of students. The question is, what actually defines student success? Some may suggest that student success is the degree or the diploma received at the end of the course of study. Is that student success? Initially, the degree is very important, but what comes after the degree? In this global world where citizens of the world traverse from every part of the globe, student success may and should be represented in many different ways. For instance, what can a student do, or a graduate do, or demonstrate in his or her job or career that stems from content knowledge? What are they able to do? Secondly, what critical analysis and thought processes can the student or the graduate engage in? Is that student success? C, is the appreciation of diversity of opinions, cultures, and perspectives of others an indication of student success? We are in a global society. And so to be able to have your graduates or the quality assurance ensure that institutions are preparing graduates for a global community can be defined as student success. The aspects of knowledge, skills, and dispositions are important. How we react, how we act, how we engage with others are often not measured, but if we expect global citizenry, perhaps they should be. So let's summarize some key aspects of internationalization. Globalization of higher education. These are just some aspects of what we think about when we are talking about internationalization. The mobility of students, the mobility of faculty, all of this has to be very pronounced in our thinking. Our quality assurance agencies. Many countries have national quality assurance agencies to evaluate, but who is evaluating the quality assurance agency? There must be a level of self-evaluation. Cross-border collaborations. Did I cook it? Oh, there it is. Cross-border collaboration, talking across borders, engaging in conferences like this. And then internationalization of standards, working with each other to make sure that there are commonalities. Quality assurance and transnational education, where universities offer programs in countries other than their home countries, and it is validated and appreciated and valued. And then the other principle of student mobility, allowing students to go from place to place, being enriched by those experiences. Data information, sharing data. There should be no closed data. Every ounce of data, every inch of data should be shared because it is through shared data that we learn and we improve. And it is that improvement that leads absolutely to a greater sense of cultural sensitivity. We also need to respect the idea that there are challenges and variabilities in the way higher education and quality assurance operates. The Global Convention adopted during the 40th session of the UNESCO General Conference in November of 2019 talks about how we all come together for the purpose of internationalization. And then we have, finally, sustainability and continuous improvement. In higher education and in quality assurance, there is, as I mentioned before, there is no higher calling than to say once we reach a certain bar, we continue. We keep trying, because that's what we ask our institutions to do. Don't become satisfied with the status quo, but to continue to look for improvements. So, in summary, and this is the part when you say, I'm glad she's finishing. In summary, the internationalization of quality assurance and accreditation in higher education is a multifaceted process, and it seeks to promote a higher consciousness about quality assurance and higher education on a global level. We are all part of the impetus and thrust for internationalization. Our cultures and countries can find commonalities to ensure that our global citizens are well educated and prepared to meet world challenges. We are the ones that will bring progress to those ideas. And CHEA is delighted and exhilarated to work with all of you and other agencies to achieve that goal. Thank you so very much. Now, before I sit, I was required to be funny. I did not achieve that goal, but you can help me if you have ever thought about something absolutely hilarious in your past. Bring it up now, and then put my face to it. And then you will know that that is the funny part of me. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Sensitia, for this is enlightening first keynote speaker, and I think you reach your goal, even to be funny. So now we're opening the session for an open discussion. I might start actually asking you questions.
And if I don't have the answers, we'll ask the audience to.
So actually, everywhere, all of us, we always look for international recognition. And there are many organizations that they go to recognize quality assurance agency everywhere in the world. INQUAHI goes, INQUAHI. هو ممكن ننور النور شوية عشان أشوف ال. So I will go back. INQUAHI go and do international recognition. The World Federation of Medical Education go everywhere to do international recognition. There is a new, something new in United States with the ECFMG and FAMR that they are doing international recognition. But actually, this is a question that every quality assurance agency is looking for. What do you think of that? The international recognition of quality assurance agency.
I think it's long overdue.
Really?
Yes, the idea of internationalization would suggest that there is comparability from one place to the other.
Yeah.
And what we know, especially in the medical field, that people get sick all over the world. And so the work that is done in one place should be validated in another place. And so the recognition allows for that. But not just in the health fields, but in education, in engineering, and all of the health sciences, in the business. Our world has become smaller. Mm-hmm. And I think that to a certain degree, that's a good thing, because we become more humanized, mm-hmm. and not so much to the point that we don't recognize our individual qualities as a country, but that we are able to share those common factors with everyone.
So you're more to the discipline recognition more than the general recognition of quality assurance.
Yes,
This is
I don't think it should be one or the other. But I think we start with the individualization of disciplines, and then we begin to look at the international quality agencies across countries.
So I will come to the second question, which is related to this one. How can we be ensure that these organizations, that they say they are international and they are doing that, are trustable? Who can tell me that X organization who's coming to do for me anywhere in the world, international recognition is trustable?
Well,
I mean, this is, I believe that this is a question for in everybody's mind nowadays for internationalization. What do you think?
Yeah. I think we have spent a lot of time not being trustworthy. Yeah. And we cannot afford on a global scale not to find the validation in other international quality assurances. And it's not just by word of mouth, but it's by evidence. And I mentioned a lot about standards. There must be some appreciation of standards, but not just standards for the sake of standards, but there must be some evidence to show that those standards have been met. And it's with that evidence that we can learn to develop a higher level of integrity, as well as a higher level of quality and respect for other quality assurance agencies.
By the way, if anybody would like to ask questions, there is a barcode. You can ask the questions through the barcode. And if it's not really working, but I can start for... Okay. Now, تفضل حضرتك.
Can I call you Cynthia or Professor Hammond?
Cynthia has been my name forever, and I answer to that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for well-presented presentation, well-articulated, and also partly funny. Anyway.
Partly.
Yes, till now. You mentioned that 1975 was your last year for having fun, correct?
I think it was 1979, but who's counting?
Yeah, okay, 79. So let's hope 2023, since you are in Oman, and I'm sure you will enjoy Oman, will be the starting year and the years to follow of having fun.
Yes.
Thank you. I think, as President Obama mentioned, that the United States is a project in progress. So is internationalization is a project in progress. And the presentation mentioned a lot of things for standards, quality, and accreditation. And I believe that allowing some space for internationalization would be a good way. And as I mentioned, that this is a project in progress.
Yes.
So we learn from each other and improve as we go without stopping. I think this will be a good idea to go forward. Thank you very much.
Yes. Yes, I absolutely agree. And I think you mentioned that it is a work in progress, just as we as human beings, we are a work in progress. So we learn every day, every year, and innovation and technology has broadened our understanding of not only quality assurance, but each other as a people. I did not mention a lot of it today, but the value of diversity, equity, and inclusion is embedded in quality. You cannot have quality perspectives and negate the individual or the groups or the organizations that help to create that quality. So yes, I agree, we are a work in progress, and we should always be a work in progress, because that's continuous improvement.
I have a question from Dr. Mazen here. What lesson we can learn from the U.S. accreditation system that we can avoid in quality assurance agency in this part of the world? What is the lesson?
Give me the first part again.
What lesson we can learn from the U.S. accreditation system that we can avoid in quality assurance agency in this country?
Well, there's a lot in the U.S. that you can avoid.
That is very good.
Coming from someone from the U.S.
You should avoid.
I think what you can avoid is the sense or historical context of isolationism. It's the bravado. I am a proud American, but there is a certain amount of bravado that comes with being a member of the USA. Mm-hmm. And so as we grow as a people and we teach our students in higher ed the importance of sharing, of connecting, of being a part of something bigger than themselves, it is important that the rest of the world, as I might suggest, also become more open as we are learning to be more open.
I have another question. How many standards in terms of institutional accreditation do you have in your respective countries?
How many standards?
Standards, yeah, for institutional accreditation.
Okay, so we have a lot. And I'm going to talk about a little bit about what we call our regional accreditation agencies. Actually, we have 7 regional accreditation agencies. And when we call them regions, because they are focused on certain regions of the United States. We have over 20 million students in institutions. One agency cannot cover all of those regions. And remember, CHEER, the organization, we accredit the accreditor. We don't accredit institutions, but we make sure that the accreditors that go into these institutions meet certain standards. For us to accredit the accreditor, we have 24 standards. Wow. And those under 4 different subheadings. But and those standards must be met every 7 to 10 years. So when they come to us and say, can we be reaffirmed? We say, show us the evidence that you have done what you were supposed to do. Each one of the regional accreditors have a set of standards for the institutions, but for CHEER, we have 24, and they do include international engagement.
How many accreditation agency you accredit in United States? This is another second question.
So between the regionals and the program, we have over 67 accrediting 67 accrediting organizations. And although we don't accredit things with CIQG, we have over 85 international quality organizations associated as part of the think tank for CHEER, and that is with CIQG.
Okay. I have a question here from Dr. Abdel Qasim. Internationalization of education is faced by the value conflicts, such as conceptions related to family. How can reach internationalization under values conflict?
How do we undervalue conflict?
Yeah. So maybe it's the conflict. How do you put the conflict part in the standard and the accreditation?
Like for instance, a conflict of interest?
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm assuming, and maybe I should not assume, that there is an ethical standard in our accreditation, and the 24 standards there is an ethics and integrity standard, and they must sign an affidavit of avoidance of conflict of interest. And they must recluse themselves. If there's a commission who has a member, for instance, who's going into an institution, who graduated from that institution, they must recluse themselves. Any impropriety that is noted, we call it back very, very quickly.
I have an interesting question, actually. Are there any ranking of these accreditations body?
No.
Do you think it
No.
is coming because nowadays you see the ranking of the universities, ranking of disciplines, ranking. No, we in our area of accreditation, we were saying ranking is not accreditation, but it is something that it is here, and we all go to ranking. Now, is there a ranking of the accreditation? That's because there will be many international accrediting bodies are coming. Do you think should we start ranking?
No, Nadia.
Good.
Let me be very firm about that.
Yeah.
If our accrediting organizations that are accredited by CHIA must prove through evidence that they are meeting the standards, then they are meeting the standards. One is not better than the other.
You're right.
The institutions that are served by accrediting agencies, they are not monolithic. The students are different. The mission is different. The culture is different. So there was a very historic time when rankings were, oh, I'm number one, I'm number two, I'm trying to be number one. The competitive nature should not be between accrediting organizations. It should be within the institution to be the best that they can be. It should be within the accrediting organization to be the best that they can be, to support the institution. Because why do we do this? Why do we support the institution? It's because of the student. If everything that we do is not resolved or propelled by student success, how successful are we?
I have a question from Dr. Mariam here. Who is going to benefit from internationalization? From past disappointing experience, globalization just went one way, from the powerful to the least powerful. How do you envision internationalization to go? A good question.
With all of what we are talking about, I'm going to go back to students. Students are going to be the beneficiary. Faculty are going to be the beneficiary. Research will be the beneficiaries of internationalizations. And it sort of levels the playing field, you know, between, we need to try to dispel the haves and the have-nots. And so I think the internationalization of quality assurance and higher education just propels us to be a more progressive community.
Yeah. Okay. Another question from Dr. Muhammad. How internationalization is creating further challenges to higher education sector in developing countries? How to cope with such challenges?
Give me the first part again. I'm hearing you.
Yeah, but I understand you. How internationalization is creating challenges in higher education in developing countries. It's creating challenges because when we see all this internationalization, I am in the developing countries, it's a big challenge. How can I reach, or how can I cope with these challenges?
We are in higher education. That's what we do. We cope.
We cope.
We cope and we improve. I think that that's probably a response that our audience might be able to give us a little bit more.
And maybe it's a connection between this developing country and other developing country, or through the networks that we are trying to do it and help each other and communicate with each other. I think this is can be.
I really would like to know from our guests, our audience, about what we call the echelon series, where sometimes it's related to ranking, but is there a tier system of I don't want to use the word betterment or superiority, but is that something that is common, and is that something that we want to continue to engage in? That one type of institution or one process is of a higher tier level than others? Because if that is the case, then we have work to do. We have a lot of work to do, because there are very capable students who need access to high quality education, and that's what quality assurance allows. It allows for institutions to be better. It allows for us to share the wealth of knowledge, share the wealth of skills, share the wealth of values that will only enhance us as a global society.
There is some question from the floor. اتفضل دكتور ظافر.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Nadia, and thank you, Cynthia, for this nice presentation. I'm Dhafar Al-Sarayda, the President of Quality Assurance Commission in Jordan. I would like to clarify some points, actually, and then I will up my question or my comment by a comment that is highly important, that has come out as a result of COVID-19, not only on Jordan, but also in the region in general. The comments I would like to make first is related to the beginnings of quality assurance higher education institutions in the Middle East in general. If we look at quality assurance 15 years ago, I mean, there was a kind of resistance, I mean, to the advent of this quality assurance to higher education institutions by faculty members and by administrations. But nowadays, luckily speaking, now it has become a culture. It's similar to what we guys have in the States, what we have in Europe, and this is a very promising kind of thing to the quality of higher education institutions in the Middle East in general. Now, the standards you have mentioned during the presentation are somehow similar to what we implement actually in the region here as an expert in Jordan and in the region, and I have good connections with my colleagues and quality assurance agencies that we have in the region. Now, and we do have also good connections with accreditation bodies internationally. Whenever the last of which, and she knows very well, with WFME actually, when they imposed that kind of thing, we implemented that just in Jordan, in Bahrain, in Oman, in Saudi Arabia, and we have coped our standards based on the international standards, so that we want to make sure the quality assurance agencies here work somehow similar to what we have internationally, because we want to make sure that our standards would meet at one point what we have internationally. The comment that I have actually, which is related to the title of this conference about digitalization and online kind of learning. Unfortunately, it has not become, every country, in every university we have in the region have embedded both the online and the blended kind of learning. Now, when we talk about international mobility, and this is my question and my comment that has to be taken seriously, unfortunately, we received some letters from countries in the region to us, for example, to Jordan or to other countries, that they would not recognize this kind of blended learning if we keep teaching it after COVID-19. But the point that has to be made, internationally, that it has, the online and the blended has to be part of a regulation, not just, it's just a matter of having it like this and it goes by without saying. We have standards for that, but we have to embed it and to encourage people and the students for the international mobility, because we need this, to become a successful story. So, this one might be one of the recommendations we might take at the end of the conference, that to send, to the people in charge of accredited agencies or ministries of higher education to implement this and to make a decision that is clear by looking at the standards. This would fit, and thus they would be recognized. Well, thank you very much again.
Yes, I think we agree.
Yes, absolutely.
It should be some regulation, yeah. Another question, how do you avoid issue of accreditation for IT programs, especially the academic experts are not the artificial intelligence than the reviewer or the accreditors? Do you have something like that in the United States?
Technology moves so fast, and it moves faster than our brains at a certain age. And going back to some of the conversation about digitalization of instruction and online delivery, pre-COVID, there was a structure there. During COVID, we had to pivot very quickly to more technology, more innovation, more online delivery. And I was a college president during that time, and prior to COVID, I was pushing online instruction, teaching and learning, and getting certifications. And the faculty says, oh, no. We need to be in front of the students. We need to engage with them. When COVID hit, everybody went home, but the instruction had to continue. The innovation had to continue. So now that everyone has been vaccinated and everybody feels a certain security, I say, okay, it's time to come back to the campus. No. We like what we're doing. And the students were actually becoming, in many cases, the teachers for the faculty. So there's always going to be, with innovation and new technology, especially with AI, an initial discomfort about innovation and technology. But we learn to adapt and we learn to grow because of innovation.
Yeah, this is very important, how to adapt, how to grow. Actually, I have lots of questions, but the time is almost finished, so I would like to thank you again, Cecilia, for this very enlightening presentation. And thanks also the floor, because I have lots of questions and lots of interaction, which made this session, I believe it's really successful. Thank you very much.
أيها الحفل الكريم، ندعو الآن معالي الدكتور خميس بن سيف الجابري رئيس وحدة متابعة تنفيذ رؤية عمان 2040 راعي الحفل، وسعادة الدكتورة جوخة بنت عبد الله شكيلية الرئيسة التنفيذية للهيئة العمانية للاعتماد الأكاديمي وضمان جودة التعليم للتكريم. أولاً الأستاذة الدكتورة نادية بدراوي رئيسة الشبكة العربية لضمان الجودة في التعليم العالي. والآن تكريم المتحدثين الرئيسيين في المؤتمر. الأستاذة الدكتورة سينثيا هاموند رئيسة مجلس الاعتماد الأمريكي للتعليم العالي. الأستاذ كاتو روليا مدير أول للشراكات العالمية في جامعة نوتنغهام ترينت. الأستاذ الدكتور حسام بدراوي رئيس مؤسسة النيل بدراوي للتعليم والتنمية. الأستاذ الدكتور جميل سلمي أستاذ دكتور في اقتصاديات التعليم بالمعهد الوطني للتخطيط التعليمي. المتحدثين في الجلسات العامة: سعادة بدر بن سيف الكندي مدير مكتب الشبكة الخليجية لضمان جودة التعليم العالي بدول مجلس التعاون. الأستاذ الدكتور خير الصلاح محمد نائب الرئيس التنفيذي لضمان الجودة لوكالة المؤهلات الماليزية. الدكتور طارق السندي أمين عام الشبكة العربية لضمان الجودة في التعليم العالي. الدكتور خالد بن مسلم المشايخي عميد كلية الآداب والعلوم التطبيقية بجامعة ظفار. الأستاذ الدكتور إبراهيم السليمان عضو مجلس إدارة المجلس الأوروبي لكليات ومعاهد إدارة الأعمال الرائدة. الأستاذة نبيلة بنت محمد المكي رئيسة الجمعية العمانية للجودة في التعليم العالي. مرة أخرى الأستاذ الدكتور إبراهيم السليمان، عضو مجلس إدارة المجلس الأوروبي لكليات ومعاهد إدارة الأعمال الرائدة. الأستاذ الدكتور ظافر بن يوسف الصرايرة، رئيس هيئة اعتماد مؤسسات التعليم العالي وضمان جودتها بالمملكة الأردنية الهاشمية. الدكتورة وفاء المنصوري، نائب رئيس الجامعة للفاعلية المؤسسية والاعتماد بالجامعة الأمريكية بمملكة البحرين. تكريم الرعاة، جامعة ظفار. جامعة صحار. جامعة البريمي. جامعة الشرقية. الجامعة الوطنية للعلوم والتكنولوجيا. جامعة نزوة. شركة تضافر للاستشارات والتدريب. كما تتقدم الهيئة بشكر الجزيل لوزارة السياحة على تعاونهم في إنجاح المؤتمر. وأخيراً نقدم الشكر الجزيل لوزارة الإعلام على تقديم التغطية الإعلامية للمؤتمر. والآن ندعو سعادة الدكتورة جوخة بنت عبد الله شكيلية لتقديم هدية تذكارية لمعالي الدكتور راعي الحفل. كما يسر الشبكة العربية لضمان الجودة في التعليم العالي تقديم هدية تذكارية لمعالي الدكتور راعي الحفل. وتقدم الشبكة العربية لضمان الجودة في التعليم العالي هدية تذكارية لسعادة الدكتورة جوخة بنت عبد الله شكيلية. وندعو أعضاء مجلس إدارة الشبكة العربية لضمان الجودة في التعليم العالي لأخذ صورة تذكارية مع راعي الحفل. كما ندعو المتحدثين الرئيسيين لأخذ صورة تذكارية مع راعي الحفل. شكرا جزيلا لكم. أيها الحضور الأعزاء، وصلنا بحضراتكم إلى ختام الحفل الرئيسي والافتتاحي لهذا المؤتمر، آملين أن تكلل جلسات هذا المؤتمر بالنجاح والتوفيق لكم جميعا. شاكرين جزيل الشكر لكم جميعا حضوركم ومشاركتكم لنا في هذه المناسبة، آملين أن نلتقي في مناسبات قادمة بحول الله تعالى، ونذهب وإياكم إلى استراحة لمدة 15 دقيقة، ومن ثم نعود بعد ذلك لاستكمال محاور وجلسات المؤتمر. شكرا لكم.